Cardboard Studios presents.
Heavy Cardboard, Episode 17, ZhanGuo. Coming to you from just down the road a piece from the Winter X Games, Denver, Colorado. Welcome to Heavy Cardboard, where we talk medium and heavy strategy board games, war games, and in theory, 18xx and other related topics in the board gaming hobby. We're your hosts. I'm Edward.
I am Tony. Good to see you this evening, sir.
Yeah, it's Monday. We're recording and
February 2.
Yeah, February 2nd. It's my first day back on the floor at work, so it was a little nerve-wracking, but it was not nearly as bad as I expected. So that's always a pleasant surprise.
That is good.
Yeah, I'm happy about that.
Well, let me remind everybody how to contact us before we get rocking in this episode.
Please do.
You can find us always on Twitter at Heavy Cardboard. We do some Facebook stuff. Heavy Cardboard. You can send us email at heavycardboard@gmail.com. And of course, please visit our website, heavycardboard.com.
And if you guys would take a minute and rate us and maybe review us on iTunes and Stitcher, that'd be great. We also wanted to take a moment and say thanks to the folks that took the time to leave us awesome reviews on iTunes since our last episode.
Yes.
Fanboy4, Blue Dane, Atomic, J Bennett 14, Texoro for me, BD 88014, JT Low, Keldrak, Hetfield 72, and everyone prior to the last episode that left us a review. It's really, really appreciated, and just wanted to say y'all are awesome. Thanks for doing that.
Right on. Thank you very much. That's quite the list.
Yeah, I was surprised.
How many were bad reviews?
No, none.
No,
I know.
whoa.
They actually are quite kind to us
Yes.
on iTunes, so definitely
Very
appreciate that. Yeah.
Before we get started, yesterday was the Super Bowl, and while I hate both those teams, I think it was one of the finest Super Bowls in a long, long time.
Yeah, I actually like Seattle. I mean, they're in the same conference as my Cowboys, but being from Portland, I kind of have a soft spot for Seattle.
Yeah.
The first quarter was kind of but it really made up for it at the end. And seriously, the only question I have is, you have the DMX of running backs, the most angry human being on the planet as your running back, and you don't give him the ball to get 1 yard at the end of the game. Shame on you, Pete Carroll. Shame on you.
They say, no one play determines a game.
Yeah, that did.
But I will say this, though. As you get deeper into a game and it's closer and closer and closer, then those one plays are just so much more impactful.
Yeah, they're magnified.
And everyone is going to just remember that football game by that play.
Yep.
That play is that game.
Yep.
Great.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. It was a lot of fun, and I gotta say, the avocados from Mexico commercial,
dude, yeah.
The draft.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Dude, that polar bear so wanted to be drafted by Mexico. He had the huge sombrero, right? And then avocado, and you just know how crestfallen he was. It cracked us up. It was hysterical.
He looked like Richard Sherman when that interception got thrown. Did you see that shot on the sideline?
Yeah.
Oh, man, that was awesome.
All right, so one other thing that I had that I wanted to bring up before we get rocking on this pretty heavy, deep.
We have a lot of
episode.
great content today.
Yeah. Is we're going to have a Heavy Cardboard BGG auction for some of our games. We're thinking about starting it President's Day weekend, which is also the weekend of Valentine's. So sometime in that weekend, we'll get it started. So if you guys are so interested, take a look, and maybe we can make a deal.
Sweet.
Cool. That's all I got.
Speaking of deals, there's some great ones to be had at our sponsor, Game Surplus. Their tagline, the home of great games at great prices. Check them out, www.gamesurplus.com. Let's get rolling. What have you acquired since we last met for a recording session?
Only Kickstarter stuff. Pretty proud of myself. The hibernation of game buying is still going on.
And these are games that you've bought months ago.
Right, so essentially free. No, they're not, but you know what I mean. Fife, France 1429, and I also got the cool buildings that were kind of an add-on. I regret not getting the coins the metal coins, those look really, really sweet. And I passed on it because we have pretty sweet set of poker chips, and I'm like, yeah, I should have got them.
Yeah, Matt Kiker said he got 2 sets.
Yeah, they were so cool, and he's happy he did.
But I'm wondering if maybe you can get them after the fact.
Probably could.
Might be.
The only other thing is what's sitting on the table there that just showed up, 2 hours ago, I think, and that's my Kickstarter for Florenza.
Yeah.
Cool looking card game.
Yeah.
Or I guess was a card game and is now the big game, but yeah.
That's kind of the opposite way, right?
Right, yeah.
It's usually the board game, then it's the card game.
Right. I think it went the other way. Anyway, it's a second edition. I'm looking forward to trying it out.
Cool.
So, obviously, because I backed it, right?
Right. And I'd be a willing participant in that, trying it out.
All right, rock on.
Let's see. I have acquired only 2. Scoville.
Oh, yeah, right.
For the wife.
Right, yep.
She enjoyed the play, and it's pretty darn cool.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, that's no big deal. And Bandu.
Which I will be talking about more here in a little bit.
Yes, we will. Yes, we will. So that's it for me. So what's on your hunting and shopping list type stuff?
The almost self-imposed moratorium, I guess, on game buying kind of has still gone on. So I'm not actively searching for anything other than Princes of the Renaissance. Nobody sent it to me yet, so I'm still a bit bummed by that. But other than that, yeah. I did back a couple of things on Kickstarter. Forged in Steel, I got the combo with Hands in the Sea, which is our buddy Daniel Berger's game coming out to Kickstarter next month, which I'm really excited about. Granted, I got my copy already locked in here with the Forged in Steel, which that campaign I think ends a couple hours after we're done recording tonight. Mm-hmm. So if you haven't backed it, then I'm sorry, you should have. It looked cool.
Yeah. Good job to my friend Wade Broadhead for designing a game and getting it published. That's awesome.
I think it's cool that we actually know both of the designers of both those games. That's pretty cool. And I'm excited about Forged in Steel, mostly because it's local, sort of. It's Pueblo,
man.
And
that's where Wade lives now.
Oh, okay, then that makes sense.
He moved down there just a few years ago.
Oh, that's cool. All right. So like I said, Hands in the Sea, though, we interviewed Daniel on the show for Pod Blast a few months back, and we got a chance to demo the game. I had the prototype here for a couple of months. It's a few acres of snow, kind of where it grew from. It started,
right.
It used that as the base, set in the First Punic War, which really appeals to me. Just cannot wait to own a copy of that game. That's going to be coming to Kickstarter next month, so I'm excited about that. Another one that I backed is, I think it's Trickerion, Legends of Illusion. Man, that game looks good. Like, just aesthetically, it is gorgeous. Absolutely beautiful. Kind of disappointed they didn't ask us to review it for them. Because I heard the prototypes are, like, production quality and awesome. But I backed that.
We do medium games here, guys.
Right, yeah. The other thing is with Genghis Khan, which is a local convention here in town.
Yeah.
That's coming up at the end of next week.
Right.
And they have a really cool, I want to say like 6 or 7 hour auction, board game auction. And I go to that every year and always find cool stuff to bid on and buy. And so that will officially end the moratorium on non-Kickstarter actively buying stuff.
And I'll be there with you.
Which I'm excited about. I'm excited for you to come. And it's cool that the wife, like, we budget for this auction every year.
That's cool.
So it's a lot of fun. So how about you?
I have 1.5 things I'm looking for.
1.5.
Because the first thing is, some finally made it to the United States, but I missed out. Village Port, the expansion for Village.
Which I'm looking forward to trying, but
Yeah.
I have not heard a single, just nothing about that game since Essen. Like, it's coming out at Essen,
Yeah.
and I haven't heard a peep since.
Someone imported some,
Okay.
and they're all gone.
Okay.
So, Velma, get some Village Port. I'll buy one. And the point 5 is we need to get Paul Chad to bring his copy of Indonesia over here.
Oh, yeah.
And knock it out with us, because I am just jonesing to play that.
Well, I'm sure that that would take very, very, and by little, I mean no arm twisting. Because
just us barely mentioning it here, it's already happening. He likes that game, right?
Yeah, it's Splatter. He loves it. Unfortunately...
Well, let's not go that far.
No, with him, he does.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he does.
Okay. Not with me.
Right. With Indonesia, unfortunately, and I understand the half, because it's like $250 plus dollars to...
But Jesus, it's expensive.
Yeah, but hopefully they're going to be reprinted either this year or next year, so I'll wait for that.
Yeah, I will too. Well, let's talk about what we've been playing lately. Obviously, the title of our episode tonight is ZhanGuo. We've all been playing that, but what else have you been playing?
Well, a lot of things that actually we're going to talk about tonight, but a couple that we're not going to. Okay. Played Shipyard again, and I love that game. I just really enjoy that game.
That's a cool game.
Bandu. Balsac,
yes.
Bausack, or for the English version is Bandu.
Yep.
And that's, you mentioned that you got a copy. I had Paul Chad's copy that he let us borrow. Yeah. And go out and buy this game. Just flat out, just go out and get it. It is such an awesome, fun game. All it is, a whole bunch of weird wooden pieces shaped like everything from a chalice to...
little like dice shaped things.
Yeah, all kinds of different. All different kinds of shape of wood, and all it is an auction game. You
Two different kinds of auctions.
You put something up for auction, and if you win the auction, you win it. You get to put it on your little dais, and build up a tower. Or you can put it up for refusal, meaning you have to pay, or you're stuck with this piece. Right. And the winner of the game, there's a few different variations, but the main one is you build up your tower of pieces. It must not be on the table. You cannot hold the tower that you've already built while placing that piece. And it's like stacking meets dexterity meets auction meets bidding. Just tons of win. I know Game Surplus has it. The Bandu, the old Bandu version, had a lot of pieces that were omitted.
Right.
The Balsac has is the complete game. The new edition of Bandu, which has the same box cover as Balsac, has all the same pieces. So I highly recommend getting that one.
I can verify that because I opened mine today and said, "Oh, yep, this is the Balsac pieces."
All right, cool. But yeah, seriously, go out and buy this game if you like having fun, and it's just.
And you
lots
like
of
auctions.
Laughs, and you like auctions, and it's just so much fun. So, other than that, everything that we're going to talk about tonight: ZhanGuo, Antiquity, Cargotrain, and AquaSphere. That's all I've been playing because I've been working almost 60 hours a week.
Liar!
What?
You also played Metropolis with me. You taught me Metropolis. I finally got to play Metropolis.
Oh, that's right. I did. Sorry, I forgot.
That was a cool game, by the way.
It really is. Yeah. Ugly as hell board, but fun, cool game.
Yeah, very cool game. Yep. So, Metropolis.
Yep.
Caverna. Busted out some more Caverna.
Why?
Because Caverna is fun. Agricola is better.
Yeah, thank you.
Caverna is fun. Not that Agricola is not, but different kind of fun. We also played Money that day when Kleiker was over.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that. Wow.
Yeah.
I told you I've been working a lot, so it's
I'm shooting out of your mind. I played some Tobago as well. So it's a little light game, but you know, it's what happens sometimes when you drink a lot. No. So that's what we've been playing. So in our last episode, we put a call out to our listeners to help us with the naming of the segment of our show, and we talk about little mini reviews of
our
games.
Side games.
Our side games is what we've been calling them. And since we always have a featured game, featured presentation, one of our listeners picked up on that and suggested like a movie type of theme. So we have our feature presentation in every episode, and then in every episode we'll have trailers, which are our mini ones, or even extended trailers. And in Ed and I mind, the difference is
that if they're just regular trailers, it's a game that we don't want to talk too much about for the simple fact that we may feature it in a future episode.
Correct.
Whereas an extended trailer, we're not planning on, it might not be heavy cardboard material necessarily.
Right. We're not going to devote an hour to it.
Right, and so we're going to do a little bit more of an in-depth, little extended trailer or a bigger mini review of it. And on occasion, we're going to have a special feature, which we are starting that off with tonight.
Yes, we do have a special feature, and that special feature for tonight is Cargotrain. And yes, it's one word. So, Christoph Matuzik, who is the designer of one of the heavy cardboard favorites, Craftsman, sent us a review copy of his late 2014 release, Cargotrain. And the game isn't, a heavy game or anything like that, but we like Christoph and what he does, and he likes us and what we do.
He's a fan of the show. He listens to our episodes.
Sent us a game.
Yeah.
And so we want to thank him for, one, his gift to us, and two, we think it's a pretty cool little all-card game. So, without going into too much depth on the gameplay, where's that train going? Well, it's up to you. You start the game by setting up an oval map of destinations that vary with the number of players. By the way, the player counts 2 to 4. And the map is created by setting out cards, because like I said, this is an all-card game. Now, certain destinations on that map are seeded with train car cards.
Literally, they have train cars on them.
Yes.
Different shapes and different colors.
Different shapes. Yeah, some colors. More on that later. These car cards, that's hard to say, can be taken by the players, and they attach them to their engine. And they form a train. Each player, you see, gets an engine. They start with an engine that's rated an A. But during the game, you can upgrade the engine to a B, to a C, to a D. Now, you see, the A train can only pull one car. The B2, the C3, the D4. So each train engine upgrade has a little more pulling capability. Also, your engine rating determines which movement cards are available to you. Movement cards will vary in speed from 1 to 4. Plus, there's also a card that you get with the D train that'll let you do either a 1 or a 2.
Correct.
So during the game, each player is going to program 3 movement actions in advance for each round using those movement cards.
Yeah, it's pre-programmed movement.
Yes. Then the players are going to successively, in turn, execute one at a time each of those 3 programmed actions. The movements end on one of those little destination cards out there, and depending on what kind of card it is that you've landed on, you can do things like take on more cards or cars into your train, upgrade your engine, take some contracts, let some cars off your train.
And all that's going to be dictated on where you end, where you stop your movement. That's going to dictate what actions are available to you.
And the whole point of the game is going around collecting cars onto your train and then going around to unhitch those cars that match contracts that you've taken during the game to give you bonus points. All the cars you unhitch are worth something, but the contracts are bonus, and they help you do some set collection, like 2 of this and 3 of that and 2 different ones, and different patterns like that. So what's cool and about this game? The train theme rocks.
Yeah, it comes through because you feel like you have tunnels that you have to go.
That's right.
You can go through
Tunnels.
There's a dead end on the track that you can't go through.
Engine improvement.
Yeah, you're truly adding cars onto the end of your train, and the order in which you add them, they get offloaded in the opposite end because of the fact that the first one on, last one off type thing. And it's thematic in a sense that, well, you can't exactly unhook the third, or the second, the second car off a 3-car train. It doesn't work.
You mentioned the tunnels. Those are fun. With 4 player, there's 3 of that one kind of tunnel, and you did this really cool move where you zipped into one and came out the other to go into the other and booped out over here.
Yeah,
it was cool. They give you great little shortcuts on the map.
And another thing that I really like is I mentioned that dead end. Well, you can't because that
you
that
can't
oval,
even go there.
You can't go all the way around because there's a track under construction or whatever. At the end of each round, one person, whoever's going to be the first player, gets to take that dead end location and switch it with one other
Yeah.
possible location. There are certain things that prevent you from being able to swap certain locations, but for the most part, you have about half the board that's available to you to swap. So you can completely change the way where this tunnel is or how you can go, and it's pretty cool. I dug that. I like that.
I played it with 2, and it was fast and fun, but when we played it with 4 later in the day, it was a much more interesting game.
Yeah, you said 2, you were like, yeah, it's fine,
cool,
it's fine. But at 4, I was like, because when you were teaching it, you were like, yeah, I don't know. Well, it was just okay.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here and you're going through it, and I'm like, this seems pretty cool. I'm like, why are you so... then
the higher player count makes it.
Right, absolutely.
Because the board is different than 2-player. There's more destinations out there. There's more types of train cars out there.
And more competition for those train cars.
Yeah. In fact, in that 4-player game, and I don't expect a game this tight every time, but what was really cool is...
yeah, that's right.
We had 22, 22, 21, and 21 as our 4 scores.
So no one really truly lost by themselves.
It was awesome.
And there was a lot of thinking that went into that.
It was all right.
I mean, there was, well, at least for me, the being able, because you have to pre-program how many spots you want to be able to move.
Oh, yeah.
You have to, it's almost like work backwards. Okay, what do I want to do here? Right. Okay, so how many spots? That's 2. Okay, so that'll be my first act. No, that'll be my third action. Okay, so for my second, and
I hope no one goes there and takes the car I want.
Which happened to me a couple
Right.
of times, and there's the ability to rearrange those cars.
About the only thing I can say on the negative side of the game, Christoph, just like in Craftsman, he's credited with the art design on this game. But I think it's a little bland. I called it 50 Shades of Brown. But the symbols are good. And here's the thing, and Matt pointed this out. He's like, if you go to a game store and you see this box, it looks dull.
Yeah, the box cover itself, it's like yellow on brown on tan.
But the game is cool.
Yeah, and especially I think it's going for like $20 right now. Absolutely, it's totally worth it to me. I think that's
I totally
a good amount of game for the right player count.
I'm not going to give the game a rating. Only played it a couple times. But I think that if you're a train game fan, this is a no-brainer. This is some great filler between train games, at least.
Right, and you say filler, and it is, but it's more than that. It's thinky filler, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I guess so.
I mean, we're not talking. This isn't 1846 thinky.
No.
But at the same time, there's more thinking in this.
It's not King's Breakfast.
Okay, or yeah, I mean, Biblios requires, which I really enjoy.
Yeah,
don't mind me.
Right.
Don't get me
Biblios
wrong.
is less thinky.
It's less thinky than this.
Cool.
So yeah, I don't want to rate it either, but I think I could safely recommend it as long as you go into it thinking it's thinky filler.
Yep. Good job, Christoph, and thank you for Cargotrain.
Yeah, definitely much appreciated. So that was our special feature on Cargotrain. Let's go ahead and roll into the trailers now.
The first trailer is AquaSphere by Stefan Feld. AquaSphere is a 2 to 4 player game. It was recently produced by Tasty Minstrel Games. I kickstarted it. You kickstarted it.
Right.
What's going on in AquaSphere? Well, basically, you got a choice of 2 actions. Program a robot or use a robot that's already been programmed to take a specific action. There are only 4 rounds in the game. And the players are going to have about 3 to 7, maybe 8 actions per turn if things work out and they get various combinations going. But basically, programming a bot and using a bot are one-to-one. I'm going to program it, I'm going to use it. The game has an area control aspect to it where you're trying to end each round with your bot in the control center of each of the 6 stations. And so there's a little bit of a timing thing about where you go and what you place and who do you knock out of a particular control center so that you can have the majority there and score some points between rounds.
Wait, score some points?
Well, it is a Feld game. There's an item collection aspect to the game. You're collecting crystals. You're collecting time, and you're using time, hopefully. And you're sort of collecting octopods. You're killing them in droves. That's
specimens.
Specimens. That's right. We're collecting them, not killing them.
Right.
That's Stefan's negative points in this game. If you control a station in the lab that has octopods in it, you're going to lose some points based on how many octopods are in there. There's also a race element to the game. Each of the 6 stations has a place to install your submarines, and you can only have one per sector. And each of the 4 spots per sector gets increasingly more expensive to place. So there's a little bit of a race there.
So let me ask you, what do the submarines like thematically? How does that make sense? The subs. I haven't been able to figure that out yet. Have you?
Yeah. Well, I don't know, but here's what in my mind.
Okay.
As a player, you have your own little private lab that you're expanding during the game, and your lab is a bit of restriction and capabilities on you, right? For example, at the beginning of the game, I can only hold 2 crystals. But if I expand my lab in such a way that the piece gives me the capacity to hold a 3rd crystal, and then later a 4th crystal, so you're increasing your storage capabilities during the game. But I envision okay, I'm sending my robot to the station in my submarine, and he comes up in... I don't know, I'm just... It's a Feld game, man.
Yeah, all right. The theme. I dig that it's underwater. Don't get me wrong. I think it's cool. It's very colorful, reminiscent kind of like Bora Bora, but maybe not so saturated. But yeah, it's definitely Feld, so it's pasted on, I think, to say it. Anyway, continue, sir.
Well, there's one more little game element. There's some engine building in the game, because you can not only build your little station up, like I just mentioned, and build your capabilities that way, but there are cards that you can get that will give you various combinations
or rule breakers
and stuff like that. So there's a little engine building. That's kind of cool. So it is a typical Feld. There's too few chances to do what you really want to do, and there's penalty points for various aspects. But, and this is a big but only 1 T, not 2.
Can't lie. Okay, all right.
This is a better game than Rialto, Bruges, Amerigo, and La Isla. You mentioned Bora Bora. I think it's maybe maybe in that area. I'm not sure what side of Bora Bora it falls on.
Now you're saying as far as like weight, or as far as Tony likes?
Tony likes is in good, and probably is in weight too.
Okay,
all of those games are pretty lighter.
See, and I can't definitively say that. I mean, I've only played it once. I know Robin has crushed you multiple times in this game.
Well, just once.
But as far as weight goes, it's probably up there in the Trajan. Probably below Bora Bora as far as weight.
I think so. Below that in weight.
But above a game like probably Castles of Burgundy and Macau. Yeah. I have not played La Isla or Year of the Dragon yet. I'm looking at I really dislike Bruges. I haven't played Rialto, but I've yet to hear anybody who said anything that they liked about that.
Well, that's not true, because I love Rialto.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Oh, you're the first.
Yeah,
I did not know that.
Rialto's cool. I shouldn't say I love it. The card play part's pretty cool. Okay. The rest of the game, whatevs.
Okay.
So, in this game, there's very little downtime. Players generally play pretty quickly. It's on your turn. You can only do one of 2 things. So go do one of those. Sometimes, you have to think a little bit as someone does what you wanted to do. And you're like, might as well do this then.
Matt, our buddy Matt said a funny thing. He says it's almost too quick. Like not enough
right.
downtime. He says, because it's my turn. I'm processing things, and I take my action, and then boom, boom, boom. The 3 of us all take our actions, and it comes back to him. He's like, wait, I'm not done processing it. No, I'm not ready for this. Right, so it moves surprisingly fast. Really, really hummed along.
When this game's out on the table and there's pieces all over it and everything, it looks like a bomb went off in a Sherwin-Williams store. Man. It's just like colors. Thought I had a flashback one day, but no. But the meeples are very cool too. They're subs, robots, octopods. The robots are kind of a little weird looking. They kind of have octopody feet or something, but they're pretty cool in general.
No, custom meeples are always a good thing.
So the 2-player, I had a 2-player, and I've done 3-player, and I've done 2 4-player.
I've only played it 4-player.
The 2-player was, less than impressed.
The night you got it, you punched it, read through the rules, and busted it out 2-player. Yes. Or maybe it was the day after.
Right.
And you were like, you sent me a text, and you were like, ooh, AquaSphere, not so good.
Right.
And I was like, really?
Yeah.
Everyone I'm hearing, whether it's on Twitter or on BGG or whatever, they're really enjoying it. And you're like, yeah, played it 2-player, didn't like it. Right. However, we played it 4-player a couple days later, and you were like, okay, I'm willing to reassess.
See, so I played at Chad's 4-player, then I played here 4-player, but I really taught that game and kind of helped my wife
play with her. Right, yeah.
And then I played a 3-player, which I taught the wife too well. But like with 3, but was especially with 4 players, the board really just comes alive.
Yeah, that's what you intimated to me, that it's just there's more competition for spots and all this. So, but yeah,
I'm not sure if parts of the game are playing me though. There's you have to have black crystals to score. You can only program your bots along a certain path on the engineering station, with little exception. I get it, and I don't feel that's bad necessarily, but I'm just not sure if I'm being washed down a hill in a mudslide or I'm actually determining what the hell I'm doing.
Okay, but that's where future plays will come in for when we feature it.
So I'm not going to rate the game yet. It's not going to be worse than a 3. It's probably not going to be better than a 4. Somewhere in there for me. I have some mixed feelings. My sick little brain needs to work out. And about Mr. Feld as well. I continue to await his next Trajan, and I'm disappointed to know that this is not that.
I'm looking forward to playing it again. I'm not jonesing to play it, but at the same time, if you were like, hey, why don't we bust out another play of AquaSphere? I'd be like, yeah, sure. Let's do that, sure. So yeah, middle of the road Feld, maybe just above middle is my gut feeling. Okay. But that's kind of where I lay so far.
That's AquaSphere. I believe you have a very interesting trailer in mind for us.
I think I do.
I know you do.
I love me some Civ games.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that I'm a closet masochist as well, based on how much I love playing games that punish the hell out of me. Sure. Hello, Agricola, and we just talked about Feld games. Therefore, you just know I'm going to love this game, and that's Antiquity. So published originally in 2004, I think there's been 2 subsequent publishings or reprints of the game. It's designed by the Splatterfellas, Joran Duman and Joris. Joran and
the other guy.
Yeah, I'll try this again. Designed by the Splatterfellas, Joran and Joris. I'm not even going to try the last names. You guys know the Splatter guys. Published by, wait for it, Splatter Spelling. So it plays 2 to 4 players. We played it what it was essentially all of our first game. I say essentially because Amanda and I had attempted to play this twice before 4-player, and somebody both times imploded themselves within the first couple turns, and the game just ended, basically. We didn't want to have somebody just sit for 3 hours and not be included.
Ew.
And so we were
it's
like...
It's not that the game ends.
No, they basically eliminated themselves.
Gotcha.
And so we were like, yeah, we'll just throw it in. So, that said, we essentially had 4 new players at the table. And it took us almost 4 hours to play the first game. Normally, once you get experienced players, I've heard that for 4 players, you can get it down to about half that time, maybe 2.5 hours. Take it for what it's worth. So what's happening in the game? In Antiquity, players take over their civilization at the outbreak of a famine sometime during the Middle Ages. Players must build buildings within each city that they build, including a cathedral which will dictate your personal victory condition. All the while, you're going to be fighting off famine, a plethora of pollution, and other players fighting for your space and your resources. So for me, for Civ lovers, it has most of everything that you're going to want, save for there's really no direct conflict in the game. There can be conflict for location and for resources, but there's no, like, I'm going to hit your, I'm not going to hurt your civilization.
I cannot send my spearmen towards you.
Right. The key to Antiquity, though, is you have to excel in overcoming adversity, because every resource that you harvest creates pollution, which makes the land unusable again unless you clear the pollution. Each round, the universal famine level increases. It starts at 0, and it goes, if you flip the famine board over, I think it goes up as high as 36.
Yeah.
So that increases every round. The populace grows hungrier and more people die. And when they die, they're going to clog up your Tetris-like cities with graves that take up precious building spaces. Every city you build helps because it gives you more space to build the buildings you need to win the game. But it also creates more and more mouths to feed, which in turn creates more starvation, which creates more graves.
And more pollution.
Right. On the positive, there's a surprisingly low rules overhead in this game. There's not a ton of fiddly rules. There's some referencing your first game or two that you're going to look up, but another positive to that is it's an easy to reference rule book. Like if you ask me multiple questions, everybody
can I build an inn on a polluted spot?
Right, and boom, there you go. Right. I can find that pretty easy.
Not that would be a great place for an inn. Well, wait a minute. In the medieval times, maybe it was the normal place for
right. So those are kind of the things I enjoy about the game. How about you?
I got several things that I enjoyed about the game. It's extremely challenging gameplay. There is keeping your engine running is not easy, and by engine I mean keep producing all these things you need to keep building more buildings and planting more crops and things like that.
And I really like that when you build nobody has a win condition at the beginning of the game.
Yeah,
like you can't win the game. However, once you build a cathedral, you have one of 5 different choices of which saint you're going to patron, and that saint is going to dictate what your personal win condition is. Now, we all could choose the same one, and then it's a race from there, who can do it first, or you can all choose different. And so I love that kind of variability of victory condition.
I like that the upkeep aspect of the game is it's punishing. It's tough. It's you have to work hard to mitigate it. Not only are you working hard to get your engine running, but the output of your engine is not just food and buildings and things like that, but it's dead people and poop and dead used up land and stuff like that. And so the pollution and famine is really the upkeep, and it's you got to work at that.
Yeah, this is the type of punishing aspect in a game that Uwe only dreams of doing to people.
Yeah, it's much rougher than a Agricola.
Yeah. Because there's 2 of them. Whereas, because there's 2 types of punishment in this game. Yeah. There's the graves and the pollution, as opposed to most games, or if any, they're going to give you one of those, not both.
And you can do things to mitigate those things. Those things that you're doing to mitigate it are kind of taking you off the main thing you're trying to do, your victory conditions. So,
but you have to do something to mitigate.
You have to.
Right.
I like that a lot of the play is simultaneous.
It is a lot of it, yeah. And
just to backtrack for a second, the whole pollution, famine stuff, I think it's very thematic. It's like as my city grows, I'm exploiting the land, and that's what I would expect to happen in medieval times. So I like that.
Yeah, thematic. I think it's pretty spot on. So now there are a handful of things that I'm not really keen on, and by me I mean people in general, as well as I'm sure you have some as well. First off,
1, 2, 3, 4. No, I'm kidding.
Let me get rid of the. Let me start with the 800-pound gorilla.
Please do, and you don't mean the box because it is a heavy box,
right? No, for me it's the artwork. I hate it. I can't stand it. I cannot stand the artwork. I think the production quality, honestly, is.
I have a
poor.
Different gorilla.
No, and I know, and that's my next one.
Okay.
I can't stand the artwork. This was my first Splotter. 2.5 years ago, I posted on BGG saying I don't get the love for Splotter. It's a cool game, but you got to be kidding me. The component quality is just nyeh.
Well, you know what?
And then I got hammered, and I didn't know any better. Well, a small print run. They don't. They print like a few hundred copies of each game, and that's that. So I know guys have made custom pieces for this. Because that rolls into the next thing is...
Whoa, don't go to the next thing yet.
Oh, okay.
On the artwork.
Yes. Amanda loves it. She
thinks
it's great.
The hex boards, those are cool. They got trees and plains and mountains and stuff like that. But as for the rest of the game, I don't think there is any artwork. The building, like the dump, it's a square that says D-U-M-P. That isn't artwork. There isn't artwork. It's absent.
We're going to get hammered for this. But understand.
But I don't care.
Yeah, I love the game. There's no doubt. But the artwork is not for me. Rolls into the next thing. Some may call it fiddly.
The F word.
It has 1,400 or more chits in the game.
Yeah.
Half of which are pollution. Did I mention that there's unending pressure that the game creates?
And those pollution chits, what are they? A quarter-inch?
No, they're half-inch. They're half-inch
No,
chits.
they are not half-inch.
Maybe they're a little smaller.
Maybe they're 3/8.
Okay, maybe. But they're small.
Yeah, they're tiny. I mean, you need tweezers and or small fingers.
Or little suction cup.
Little suction cup.
Or, and another thing that you must buy if you own this game, and that's a couple of Planos to keep everything ornate. Just flat out, you must.
I found that this aspect of the game totally distasteful. I don't play Hex Encounter war games for this reason. That said, I don't dislike the game. Don't get me wrong, but this would be a great computer game.
Oh, I think it actually is online somewhere. I think I haven't explored that yet. But so a couple more things. It plays long with 4 players, at least if you have players that aren't familiar with the game. I've heard that it plays much better at 2 or 3.
I hope so, because I kind of felt like, although I was being challenged, the challenges didn't really vary, and I thought that the game stayed too long for what I got out of it.
Okay. See, I did. Both Amanda and I would disagree with that. Like
It's just more pollution. It's just more famine.
Sure.
It's not.
It doesn't change. I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
But if it were a 2-hour game,
absolutely
right. So the last 2 things I wanted to mention on this is basically if you don't absolutely relish a game like Agricola, run away, run far away, and run quickly, because you will abhor this game. However, if you are a fan of that type of mitigation of punishment and a little bit of a masochist, then I highly recommend playing a buddy's copy, because it's going to set you back $250 right now until it's reprinted, and even then you're looking at 125, 150 probably when it comes out new.
Well, for me, I think it's a very good game. It's not a great game, I don't believe. One whole play of experience. So I am looking forward to my next play. I'm totally interested in playing at 2-player as well. And there is one little aspect of gameplay I want to test and bang on. So let's do it.
Okay, cool. Yeah, definitely. For me, I'm unsure what I want to rate the game right now, but I do know that it's going to be really high. I don't have the overstaying its welcome feeling that you got in this. It's, like I said, there's got to be a part of me that's a masochist that really enjoys mitigating punishment.
Yeah.
And I really, really, really enjoyed this game. And Amanda did too, whereas you and Matt kind of felt like where you are. So, I'm jonesing to play it again. Like, if I didn't have to work tomorrow, we'd bust it out right now. As soon as we're done recording, say, let's bust it out 2-player. I'm looking forward to trying it 3-player.
Let's call in sick.
Yeah, I wish. But yeah, definitely. I recommend if Agricola is your style of game in that mitigation, then check it out. And I assure you we are going to feature this at some point on a future episode.
Cool.
And that's Antiquity by Splatter Spellin.
What's those guys' names again? Oh.
So enough of the special feature, enough of the trailers. Time to get into our feature presentation tonight. Take it away, Tony.
Thank you, Edward. Time to talk about ZhanGuo. And also, a quick thank you to What's Your Game for providing a review copy for us. It's very greatly appreciated.
Thank you very much.
For me, just speaking personally for a moment, this is the other Chinese-themed game, Three Kingdoms Redux being the other one, that I was so looking forward to playing and reviewing.
Yeah, basically from midsummer last year, we've been looking forward to these. You more so because you're more into the history of China, et cetera, which I now am, thanks to these two games. So, yeah.
And just, digress for a moment. What's really cool is the Emperor's hat on the board of ZhanGuo is the same Emperor's hat on the Emperor's token in Three Kingdoms Redux. It's awesome.
Oh,
man.
nice.
Awesome,
nice. Okay.
Anyway, ZhanGuo, published in 2014 by What's Your Game? The design team on this game Marco Canetta and Stefania Niccolini, who have previously collaborated on the Doge ship.
Haven't played it. I've heard it's okay.
Yeah. The artist, someone we're going to recognize, Mario Iannelli.
Of Madeira,
Nippon, Vinos, Vasco da Gama.
Right.
ZhanGuo plays 2 to 4 players in 90 to 120 minutes. So let's get right into it. Let's talk about some components and graphic design things.
First off, I dig the components. There's lots of custom shapes, and it's all wood. The only thing that isn't wood in this game for component-wise are the workers. I'm a big fan of that.
Yeah. The board, I think, I have my board, it won't lay flat. It's fantastic board, but it won't lay flat.
You even tried folding it back on itself a little bit?
Yeah, but maybe after time it will.
All right. There are no player aids that come in the game.
Yeah, there aren't.
And that's a problem if our buddy Paul Chad, he was sitting on the far end of the table and couldn't see the end of the table to some of the
chord actions are depicted in a corner of the board,
and the colors kind of blend a little bit, so it was hard for him to pick up. Thankfully, you would print it off, and I know there are some
I got it
some
on the
fan there are some fan made ones that are appreciated, but this day and age, you got to have player aids. Come on,
toss them out there.
Also, there's some consistency issues with graphic design regarding the unrest and the workers. Like, they could have added that in on
that area. Yeah,
right.
I know what you're talking about.
To let you know that every time you take workers...
Yeah. In our first game, we forgot to increase the unrest a couple times.
Right.
Let's see. Before I get into some good things, I've got one more bad thing.
Okay.
About 25% of the cubes are, like, irregular. They're just, like, oddly shaped.
Right, they're not cubes.
They're not cubes. They're weird. But
they're right.
They come from the island of misfit cubes.
A couple more little bummers on this.
Oh, okay.
There's the same artwork on multiple cards. It's kind of a bum. Okay, now coming from
the people.
Yeah. Coming from, say, Three Kingdoms Redux, keeping with the same theme.
Right.
Every card has unique artwork,
Sure.
whereas this one. I mean, it's not a big deal. The artwork, it's just,
yeah.
it's flavor text, essentially.
Yeah.
But that would have been nice. I mean, it's a minor thing, but it's there. Colorblind issues with some of the cards to be able to differentiate on the color. However, I will give props that there's symbols and there's different, some are money, some are, this and that, whatever. Right. So there's different symbols which make it playable because our buddy Paul Chad is colorblind. So he's a good actually sounding board for us on this stuff. But he ended up not having a problem. But it's something to make note of. In the theme, it's there, but it feels really pasted on.
Yeah.
At no point do I feel like I'm unifying China at all. It really doesn't bother you or I.
No, we don't care.
But I figure I'd put it out.
Yeah.
So that's all the piss and vinegar I have.
I love, I think that the iconography is really pretty good about what the different symbols are and stuff like that in the game.
Yeah.
No problems.
Completely agree on that.
Yeah, no problems at all. As far as the colors go, it's got a red player, so I'm awesome with that.
There's a yellow one. All right.
But I color-wise, everything's cool. I think in general, the components and graphic design are really good.
Yeah, I even though I have a lot of little nitpicky stuff, I would say it's definitely a quality production.
We're connoisseurs, and so we critique all fine wines. Well, along those lines, let's talk about the rule book, its clarity, its quality.
Well, why don't you start, since you're the one that originally read it and taught it to us. You tell me from your initial take.
I thought it was fine. I learned the game. I didn't have any problems.
Yeah, I when I went through and read it, I thought it was really solid. The nice thing about it is every question that any of us had during game was answered in the rule book. Yeah. There was no ambiguity. There was no need to go in to, say, BGG to see if someone had asked the question or whatnot. So that was pretty nice. However, I do have one significant gripe about this, and I'm irritated that there's no section detailing the changes for less than 4 players.
Oh, can I get a witness?
The game teaches assuming 4 players.
Yeah.
Why not take a paragraph at the end of the last page saying if for playing with less than 4 players, 3 players, these are the changes. 2 players, these are the changes. Because I'll be honest, you and I, neither of us, you know what? I'll get into that in a minute.
Yeah, okay. All right, well, I was going to suggest we... Cool. So, availability and cost, I think it retails at $59.95.
I've seen pre-orders as low as $42 online.
But it doesn't seem to be really readily available in the U.S. yet.
Not yet, which surprises me because this came out at Essen. I figure, I mean, it's not Z-Man, so I'm surprised it's not available, but it's coming.
So let's talk about the player counts and stuff like that we've experienced, and then we'll jump right into scalability because I know you got some more things to say about that. So personally, I've played 3-player twice and 4-player thrice.
Okay, and I've played it. I think I've played it 4 times, both 3 and 4 players as well. So neither of us have played it 2-player.
I think with 3 and 4 scalability is quite good, but personally, no interest in the 2-player.
Well, let me back up for a second. 3 and 4 player, I enjoyed the game equally. I enjoyed it with 3. I enjoyed it with 4. I think it plays great on both player counts. There is more competition for spots in the 4-player, and it feels a little bit tighter and a little bit more frustrating at times.
Good.
In a good way.
Yes.
In a good way. However, as far as scalability for 2-player, and I'm a little pissed off, to be honest with you, about this, is...
So the rule thing.
Yeah. This goes back to what I said about there's no section detailing the changes for less than 4 players. And this could be completely on me and completely on you. But the fact is, you and I are both experienced players. We're experienced in reading rule books. We're experienced in all this stuff. Yet, however, neither of us thought this game scaled. And so, up until prepping for the show...
Yeah.
I had no interest in playing the 2-player game, and we were going to say as much because of the fact that if there's not less competition for spots, then, or if there's not, if that competition doesn't scale, then it's going to be too wide open. However, now that I know that it scales, and how do I know this? Because I actually downloaded the rule book and did Control F to find and did 2-player, and then I found a few instances. Yeah. And maybe it's just that we glazed... Obviously, you and I just glazed over it. Because we actually spent one night looking for this. Like, how does this game scale? It's got to in some way, but we just missed it. And so, I'm excited to play it 2-player now. And
I don't know.
I'm anxious to at least give it a try. And I'm pissed off because now... Because I was so not interested in the 2-player. Because of the fact that they couldn't take the time or use the space... to put a little blurb in there, it would have taken, an inch or 2 of space. That now we can't give a full review about that because of the fact that both of us were like, about the 2-player. So, okay. That said, I'm interested in trying it, and I apologize that I guess you and I can't read.
Fair statement.
And soapbox.
Well, let me add a new category onto this little section of our review. I'm going to throw one at you here.
Eddie's rant? What?
No, it's called variability. I think the variability in the game is quite excellent. There are different tiles that determine where the tasks are going to be. Different regions that the tasks take place, where you build palaces, where you build wall segments, where you install governors. The different wall segments have different bonus scoring tiles. I think that there's a lot of little things that change up how each game will unfold.
Oh, I totally agree. And this game is a really good example of that. I love the variability / replayability that gives because you never know what wall tiles are going to come up and the tasks and what regions are going to correspond with what task. And that really adds to the variability. And I'm a big fan of that. Big fan.
Well, let's give folks a sense of what's going on in the game.
Yeah, because we've already talked about half the damn game, and they have no clue what we're talking about.
In ZhanGuo, players are using hand management and action selection mechanisms to build palaces, install friendly governors, and construct the Great Wall through the recruitment of local officials and the conscription of labor, all while trying to control the unrest in the 5 provinces. The game's played over 5 rounds, and in each round, the players will have exactly 6 actions, and they have a hand of 6 cards. with which to play those 6 actions. So yes, you get 30 actions in a game. No more, no less. So the card play, doing those actions, that's the heart of the game. There's 2 things you can do with a card. The main thing to do is to play the card as a court action. These things allow a player to build a palace, to build a section of the Great Wall, install a governor, recruit officials, move officials in your player board that you've already recruited into the different provinces, and finally to conscript laborers.
You mean hire laborers?
No, I mean conscript. Here's your shovel.
Get to work.
Get to work. There's a hole. Make it bigger. The cool thing about the cards is each one is numbered from 1 to 120. And some of those court actions will give you a bonus if you've played a card that either has a higher number than the previously played or a lower number than the previously played. Bonus actions? What are you talking about, Tony?
Tell me more.
Well, I will, sir. The other thing you can do with a card besides court actions is to position the card on your player board in such a way that it gives you a bonus for one of those court actions. Each player has their own player board that represents the 5 provinces that are depicted on the main board. A player card can be tucked under your board to give a bonus for a particular court action. You see, the cards are divided. Not only do they have a number on the bottom portion, but the top portion has a little iconography that depicts which court action you will get a bonus from on this card.
5 of the 6 court actions have cards associated with it.
Yes, that's correct. One of the court actions, no bonus.
Right. And that is the moving of the officials.
Yes, sir. When you tuck a card under your player board so that the bonus portion is exposed only, you do that in one of the 5 provinces. And you're going to get 1 to 3 unification markers if this is the first, second, or third card that you've tucked into that province. And if it's also the second or third, your province will experience an increase in unrest. But these bonuses are really an important way to augment your court actions and be more efficient in your play. If you only have 30 actions in the game, and some of those actions are for placing cards in your provinces to bolster your other court actions, you kind of need to be...
They better kind of like be the superfood of
they
your
better
of your
help you.
actions. Right, right.
You better plan on doing some of those things.
Right.
So I mentioned unification markers. The unification markers is just a little collection mechanism in the game where at the end of each of the 5 rounds, the players with the majorities of these unification markers, and they come in 3 different colors, so there's some pretty cool little competition for them.
And it corresponds with what the 3 different cards are segmented as.
With the cards you tuck.
Right.
Yes. They, the cards represent the unification actions. There's currency, there's calligraphy, and there's laws. So at the end of each of those 5 rounds, if you've got the most of this color, that color, or the other color, you have your choice of taking this very small little bonus as your reward or saving your markers for the next bonus or the next bonus or the next bonus.
And those bonuses increase in...
Yeah, they get cooler.
Yeah, they get better. And it's possible that some of those bonuses are not insignificant. They can be fairly significant.
We talked about unrest. Unrest in a province can prevent a player from using court action bonuses that might be in that province.
I.e. the cards that you tucked in your player board in the different regions.
They could even, if unrest gets high enough, just prevent you from building a palace in that region too. So you have to, before you can do some of those things, you're going to have to work to reduce that unrest. And installing a governor is the primary way to reduce that unrest. And the governor... or really kind of a little area control thing going on. Each of the provinces has 3 spots that you can put a governor.
And only 3.
And only 3. So when you place a governor there, each of those spots gives you another small little bonus.
And that's either you get an extra official, you get 4 points, or you can move
officials.
Right.
And at the end of the game, whoever has the most governors, area control, like I said, in each of the provinces, there's a little scoring
mechanism. We'll score you a metric... ton of points.
Yeah, fair amount.
Yeah.
Governors are important. Task fulfillment is another mechanic in the game. Palaces, governors, and the Great Wall sections are what the components of that task fulfillment are. The game is going to show a couple of listings of different provinces where the players are incentivized to build those things. And you're going to get point bonuses at the end of the game if you do so. So there's, in each of the 2 task lists, there's 3 different tasks. One for palaces, one for great walls, and one for governors. So the first player to complete the task, all 3 of those things, they can put their marker in first. They're going to get a few more points than you would. So if I was first to do palaces, I might get 5. You might get 4 if you were second. Plus, if you get 2 or 3 markers up there in the task sections, that's going to double or triple your little points.
So that
important.
So that 1 or 2 points that you may have as an advantage over me gets amplified, assuming that we each have, or if you have multiple markers, if you've succeeded in multiples of those tasks, then that 1 or 2 points might become 2 or 4 or 3 or 6 point advantage that you got over me.
There's some end game bonus scoring too associated with this, in addition to the task completions and the governor installations, area control. You're going to score some points during the game, but most of your points are going to be at the end game. And part of that is each of the Great Wall segments has a little tile associated with it that will award you some level of points for a certain aspect of your work during the game. But one of the cool things is there's 3 spots in each segment. So the first spot, the second spot, and the third spot, they're increasingly harder to get your Great Wall piece in, but they reward you also in an increasing proportion.
And the cool thing about that is the fact that just because you're the first one to place it doesn't mean you get the 1 spot or the 3 spot. It's whatever you pay, whether or not, the price you pay is commiserate with what spot you're actually allowed to take on the Great Wall, whether it's 1, 2, or 3 location.
You've got to be able to build the 3.
Right.
Which is harder than the 2.
Right. So it's possible that the first player takes the first spot, and the second player to go there takes the third spot, and all that you're left with possibly is the second spot. Or in a 4-player game, you just might get shut out altogether.
Yeah.
Or in a 3-player, if multiple player, if you're playing in the same spot, multiple times.
But really, what it comes down to, the governors and the area control, the task fulfillment for the palaces, governors, and wall sections, and then the bonus scoring for the wall sections themselves, that's just the game mapping out possible routes for you. Do these things.
Or not.
Or not. And if you don't, you'll be 4th. So that's it. At the end of 5 rounds, highest scoring player wins. Mr. Euler.
Sir.
Let us discuss the weight of ZhanGuo.
I would say it's on the heavier end of medium. It may be a light heavy, but see, saying it's a heavy game puts it in the same category as a game like Democker or 1846, and I don't feel like it's that weight of game.
I think it's solidly medium. Maybe it's medium heavy.
Okay, yeah, I'll buy that. So with that in
totally
mind,
within the realm of our
coverage,
purview here.
Oh, absolutely. But with that in mind, then instead of what do we think helps make this game heavy, what do we think helps make this game medium heavy?
Alrighty. Let's start with complexity. When teaching the game, even though there's the task section and the governor, all these things, the wall tiles that I just mentioned that guide you, possible path through the game, it seems that new players always seem to say, and I think I'm a pretty good game teacher.
Oh, I think you are too, Jerry. Tony.
People say, what am I supposed to do? and then, yeah.
Well, on that note, I had because the first time we played this, it was you, me, and Paul Chad. And both me and Paul Chad had a real hard time understanding what the hell it was that we were supposed to do and what made one thing better than another early in our first game. We were like, I'm just going to tuck this card here. Couldn't tell you why, but it seems like a cool thing to do. Let's try that out. And it took me until, I want to say at the end of the 3rd round for it to be like, oh, okay, now I'm starting to get this. I'm getting it now.
Yeah, the game's like this big sandbox. Here's a set of tasks to go for. Here's a set of tasks to go for. Here's, 9 different scoring tiles for the walls. And by the way, here's, 15 places to stick governors. Okay, go.
Yeah, it's really open-ended. Yeah. And like you said, the goal cards, bonus scoring, and tasks, but there's no set direction. And Amanda struggled with
There is a set direction, but it's wide.
Right, yeah, fair enough. And Amanda really struggled with that because she's the type, like, take another What's Your Game, Madeira.
Yeah.
At least you have the crown's request,
yeah.
And that's what you're focusing on doing. Whereas this game never gives you that direction in which, I should say, it doesn't limit your direction.
Yeah,
and so you could go a million different places, and you don't have a one direct path that you can focus on, or that you know that you should focus on. I should say.
Let me edit what you're saying. I think this is what I'm hearing, because you brought up Madeira.
Right.
And I think in Madeira gives you those king's requests, right?
The crown requests, right.
Right, but, in turn 1, 3, and 5, you're scoring them. So your future is very short. I need to execute this now. I need to execute this then. Right?
Right.
In ZhanGuo, I think it still gives you all those king's requests, but just all freaking at once, and you're never going to score them till the end. And so I think it does give you guidance.
Oh, you're saying there's no intermediate feedback from the game saying, hey, you're doing a good job or you're doing a bad job.
End, baby.
That's kind of what I'm getting at. And some people, and Amanda is one of those people, really struggles without that, I don't want to say hand-holding, because that seems to imply that the players can't handle it or whatnot, and I'm not intimating that at all.
Right.
It's just there's a lack of direct direction that you need to go. It's this huge open space. Knock yourself out. Go do what you want to do. And on top of that, there are tons of decisions in this game. And it can be really, really overwhelming for some folks.
30 of them, as a matter of fact, right? Well, even more when you talk about which bonus should I take. And
Right, which I'll get into here in a minute as far as how those decisions can be overwhelming.
Okay. Well, let's talk about the planning required to effectively play the game.
Well, everything you do is predicated on decisions that you've made on prior actions.
Right.
So everything kind of stacks on top of one another. So the tucking of the cards, well, you're tucking these cards in the regions that you're tucking them so that you can then play another card out there to then trigger these things, which then will get you another, the main action which you're trying to do in the end.
Right. And you're doing all those things in pursuit of completing those tasks, installing governors. And so you need a plan to do that. Well, where does the task tell me to build palaces? Well, province 2, 3, and 4. Guess what? I need to start tucking cards here. I need to put officials there so I can get some workers in 2, but I also need some workers in 3 so that I can still build there's lots of little things to plan for.
As we like to say, stay on target. Once you get your plan in your head, stay on target. Although there is a lot of tactical decisions that go into this because your plans can be thwarted. And let me give you an example here that kind of ties all those decisions as well as the tactical nature of the game, if I may.
Please.
So here are a thought process potentially that you might take while wanting to play one of your cards.
Okay.
Do I play the card or do I tuck it? If I tuck it, which region, and does it chain with the other previously tucked cards, both in that region and global ones that I've tucked previously? Okay, what if I play it though? Is there one of the 6 of those actions more pressing than the others? If there is, does my card being higher or lower than the previously played one out there, does that trigger the bonuses of my tuck cards? If not, does that really matter? Do I need the bonuses anyway? Well, what if it does matter? If it does matter, do I take another action then that triggers my bonuses now and then play a different card to do what I want to do now? Well, if the answer is yes to that, then what about the card that I planned on tucking later? Now I need to play that to be able to take that action. So do I have to change up my plans for the entire turn all because of that one thing? And so those are the...
And on top of that...
Okay,
now I'm ready to take that court action. And I need a card to be higher. Oh, Jesus, he played a 118.
Right.
Now I'm not going to get my bonuses that I planned for.
So now back to square one. So and I say that not to overwhelm folks, but those are seriously, that is the thought process. Granted, you're going to be having an inner monologue, and it's going to go a lot quicker than what. Well, okay, fair enough. And it's going to go quicker than what I just laid out. But that's kind of some of the line of decision making that you have to make, and that's only one of those 30 cards.
Yeah. So speaking of the cards, I think that's the only real luck / random factor in the game.
During the game, I agree with you. However,
do you think there's some others? Before or after?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I would say random, not luck.
Okay.
So
initial turn order.
Oh, okay, fair enough, right.
Most games have that.
But there's the card number. We said the cards themselves, right? You have 6 random cards. You have 2 in each range of numbers each turn, right?
Right.
Well, each card number and ability, it has 2 different things because you have the card number and the bonus ability, right?
And the color that it is, too, for unification tokens.
So, dare I say there's almost like a double randomness in the cards because of the number and the special ability. Sure. As far as, okay, maybe I want high, a mix of high and low. Maybe they're all high, but they do these different abilities. So there's that. At the beginning of the game, though, there's the seeding of the end game goals on the wall sites and what region for the tasks, that apply. That changes each game. So there's that variability or replayability, but also there's that randomness, that pregame. Mm-hmm. And then also pregame, there's the drawing of the custom player boards each game. Because at the beginning of the game, you have the... Or I'm sorry, when you're first learning the game, you have the standard, normal player board. Everyone's the same. Whereas later on, as you get more comfortable with the game, it has the special ability ones.
Now, the rules say everyone starts the game with victory points, and you bid for what player board you want. We just dealt them out to try the boards.
Right. But I kind of like the idea of being able to kind of bid for it.
Absolutely. You're bidding for, I want that board. And I liked my board.
Right.
I would bid for that board again.
But that's all I have. But yeah, it's basically the cards that's the randomness during the game. But I really do feel like it's almost a double random because of the dual use of the cards.
I'm going to talk a little bit more about random cards too.
Okay.
Because you know how fond I am of random cards.
Love them.
How's the game length feel to you?
I feel like it's appropriate. It's an appropriate length for the game to take. You're not clamoring for another round. Like, man, I wish there were 6 rounds. At the same time, you're not like, I wish there were 4 rounds. Yeah. I feel like
I totally agree.
Yeah,
it's perfect.
And to be honest with you, there's very little downtime unless somebody's APing and going through that thought process, like what I read through earlier. And so that helps make it feel smooth, and the gameplay just kind of trucks along.
So for getting it, when we were talking about complexity and stuff, you were saying like it takes 3 or 4 turns. What do you mean by a turn? And like, how long did it take you to get it the first time? Is a turn like a playing of a card?
No,
or a turn is like a whole set of 6?
Yeah, a whole set of 6. Okay. I didn't start to really grok the game and really have any... I didn't know what I was doing or why I was doing what I was doing until probably the 3rd round. So the 3rd set of 6 cards. And so at that point, then I started looking at the cards I'd tucked into my board, and I was like, all right, not so good. And Paul Chad had the same struggle. But however, in our second game, both of us were much better. Yeah. And we had a plan going in, even though you thwarted mine. I did have a plan. And it was... And Amanda said that she was pretty lost for the most part of the first game. Mm-hmm. She was kind of like how Paul Chad and I were, as far as, I'm just going to do this because. Whereas at the beginning of the second game, she was like, okay, I'm ready to rock and roll. How about you?
Yeah, I have like this mixed staged thing, because my first game was taught to us by Southside Scott, and I was totally lost. Just didn't understand what the hell I was doing out there. But then second game, I was totally into it. So it's like you need to play some cards and understand like the bonuses and how they all chain together and the numbers higher and lower to get the bonuses. And I think you definitely need to see one or two of those between game rounds where you can score the little bonus thing for your unification tokens,
right? Sure.
Which also adjust the turn order. Then you go, and then of course
End-game scoring,
just
which
because that's
huge.
That's 75% of the points come at the end of the game.
Well, not only that, but it's kind of convoluted. Like it's involved.
It's
the scoring, there's a lot.
Not
of
talking
scoring.
Arkwright math here, yeah. So let's talk about the things that make the game very cool
and fun.
Well,
first off, there's oodles of choices, and the balance that you have to strike between tucking cards and playing cards. The more cards you tuck, the less actions you get,
right.
Even though technically those are actions, but they're less actions that you're actually being able to do out on the board.
Tucking a card doesn't help you reach a goal directly.
But then again, tucking those cards make future actions more powerful.
Right.
So it's striking that balance and trying to figure out what that balance is really enjoyable to me.
In one game, I put 12 cards tucked. And although I came in second, I felt like that was too many. And then
at the end of that game, you had mentioned, what if I don't tuck any cards?
I'm
What if I
gonna
just
do 30 actions of building stuff?
And then you started thinking about it, and before we played the next game, you were like, yeah, maybe not so much.
So I think in the last game that we played, with Paul, Chad, and Amanda, I think I tucked 8 during the game. And again, I came in second, so I'm like, I don't know what the right number is, and maybe it's conditional depending on the game.
Oh, I think it's totally conditional.
Depending on the cards you have.
And depending on what the other players are doing.
I seriously went into that last game saying, I'm not tucking a card. But then we played with the advanced side of the player boards, and I was like, wow, my hand and the bonus and the special power on my player board really line up. I would be dumb not to tuck some of these.
Yeah, and I really, speaking of which, I really enjoy the custom or the variable player powers, I guess you could say, on the player boards, like your
differences
personal
between players.
Yeah, like your different factions within in China. You have different strengths and weaknesses, and I really dug that. We didn't play with it a lot of times, but the times we did, I was like, I wish we would have been playing with this the whole time.
Yeah.
But we still had to learn the game, and it's definitely something you don't want to throw people into on their first play or two. Another thing that I really dig is you can, and this is going kind of another level deep, as if the thought process isn't enough there. But you can play cards based on what range of cards your opponents have left. And what I mean by that is each of the 3 different color or cards, and I forget which they are. Like there's, like you said, calligraphy. There's ink or commerce or money,
currency and laws.
And laws. And I forget what range corresponds with what. Right. But they're broken up into 3 decks. It's 1 to 40 is 1,
right,
and then 41 to 80, and then 81 to 120. So, and everything is open information.
Something like that. Yeah.
Everything's open information, except what card it actually is, but you can see what card it is.
You can tell that it's an orange card, and
right, and therefore it's this range, right? And so you can look and be like, well, I kind of see that they're going for. I see they have officials lined up, and he wants to take the officials action. Well, he has this card. Oh, if I play this card instead, he can't get the bonuses that he's angling for. So I'll go ahead and play this card, even though maybe it would behoove me to play the other one, or instead of tucking, or maybe I do it in a different order than I originally planned, just to try and thwart your plans. And so, like I said, that's going kind of second level, but as you play it more, it just adds more strategic decisions into the game, and that's a win in my book.
I never look at what other players have in their hand. I'm too busy. I'm just going to go down my path, right? If you put a bump in my road here and there, whatever, I can deal with that. But I think that whole card play notion in this game is really fun. Deciding to tuck, deciding to take a court action. Darn it, I need to play higher than that, and I don't have anything higher than that. Or I have something higher than that, but I really need to tuck it. It's good stuff, man.
And your ability to change on the fly, maybe not the actions that you take, let's say you have 6 cards, and let's say you're getting really good at the game, and you can plan out all 6 actions,
Right.
at least in theory. Then maybe you adjust the order in which you were going to do them based on what your opponents are doing. And again, that's second level thinking, being able to adjust on the fly there.
I will look at other players' boards and see, all right, they have enough officials to build a governor here, so I better work on here or beat them to it now, whether or not I get the bonus or not. So
Right, if I'm going to do that
play
action,
like
I
that.
better do it now because I know I'm not going to get a chance next time.
It does feel good when you can look at your hand and go, and say, you have like 4 cards left. I know what all 4 of these are going to do. It does feel good.
Until somebody screws that up.
Yeah. So endgame scoring, it's huge,
Right.
as we said, but I like that. I've always been a fan of endgame scoring. Now this has got a lot more endgame scoring than a lot of games, but I do feel though that's not a big deal. That like the game says, look, here are your multitude of scoring options. Go down your path. Do well. If you lose, it's your fault.
Let me ask you a question on that note. Do you feel like specialization is a winning strategy? Do you think
What
you
do you
can?
mean by specialization? Like
Like-
only build governors?
Right. Say
No.
you well, not only. I mean, because there's more actions than you'd be able to build all your governors plus other stuff. But
Right.
I'm saying focus on say governors, and then maybe you throw some palaces out here or there, or
Wall sections. Yeah,
right to where you're mostly focusing on one, and then kind of get in where you fit in with the other stuff. Do you think that's a viable strategy, or must you diversify?
Well, I think you must diversify. The game says complete these tasks. Tasks involve palaces, governors, and walls. So without that, you're gonna miss some points. There's no reason why you can't do governors first, and or something like that. Maybe governors are really especially important because you're trying to beat some other players to the majorities in those areas to boot.
And I do think on that note that you have a responsibility to the rest of the table to make sure that somebody doesn't run away with
Too many governors?
too many governors. Because and that kind of rolls into some things that maybe not too keen on in the game, and that's, I'm not going to say that governors are overpowered, but if there isn't competition, because they score so many points, and there's 5 regions, that if you let somebody just run away with it, it really could skew the scoring in the game. And so I'm not... the game requires the players to balance the governors. Does that make sense?
It does, and there's not enough governors to get the majority in all 5.
In all 5, true.
God knows I tried last game.
Yeah, I know you did.
But yeah, you're right. I got majority in 3, and I
then
had a
split.
share
Yep.
in 1.
Yep.
And I thought that was pretty big, scoring wise
Right.
for me. So yeah, folks you need to build governors. You need to complete tasks. I mean, I think it's all important, but the governor stuff is on the top end of the importance.
So I also think that maybe on the negative side that it can be overwhelming for some people as far as just talking about this whole open-ended sandbox. Here are the things that you should be aiming for, these 15 different things. Go. And you you cramp up. And I think that can be a turnoff to some people. Would you agree?
Yeah, it's not to me, but I mean it is a turnoff to some people. That doesn't mean those people are wrong or defective or anything like that. Amanda said she doesn't love that aspect of the game.
Right. She prefers more direction.
Right. Let me ask you just a question.
Fire away.
There is variability in the scoring, right? Do these tasks.
Oh, you mean the setup and the
Right.
and the wall tiles and
Wall
all that,
tiles,
right? Yep.
Put some governors out there. Do these tasks or do these tasks, right?
Right.
Is there still a lot of variability at the play? Is the important path always the same? It's just that the steps on that path are different?
Yeah, I think, that what you just described right there, I think applies here. But and just to go off on a tangent for a minute, it reminds me of a Spielworks game that we tried that you weren't too keen on, and that's Rochefort.
I thought you meant Legrand.
Stop. I made the comment at the end of that game, like, we all ended up kind of in the same spot as far as our tech trees. And the game is not about the destination, it's about how you got to that destination, because all the players are going to end up in the same spot. And I think that, I don't know if that's a negative, or if it's just a different way the game is just set up differently than what you and I, and by you and I mean most people, are expecting from a game. We've been conditioned to expect, hey, multiple paths to victory and this and that, and so we all end up at different spots at the end of the game. Whereas this, and like I said, Rochefort, kind of have, you end up in the same spot, but it's how you got there can be the difference. And so that's an interesting point that you bring up, but I don't know, and I'll be honest, I don't know if it's a negative or if it's just something that we've been conditioned, and maybe it's on us as players to realize that it's just a different type of game.
I really like your answer. And it was truly just meant to be a question. And I'm really glad you said what you said, because I think you really brought something out there. And that is, you know, when you look at the task, the only thing different is in this game you build the phalanxes here, here, and here. And the next game you build them here, there, and there. You know, but like you said, how you get there is totally different, because every game you're going to get different cards. You're going to have to make different decisions about, well, do I need to build these first? Players are going to be playing differently. Let's tuck these. Different tactical decisions, different crap. Why did you play the 118 now? So I think that I think that the path is always the same, but the path has some little minor twists in it that are different from the game to game, and you can even get off those paths a little bit in just the different ways that you play the card. So good answer, man.
Thanks.
That's cool.
Not bad for winging it.
Wings.
So I got two other potential, I guess, pitfalls or cons, if you will.
I have one, so go.
Okay.
Go me, you.
The first one is there's the randomness of the cards.
Okay. That was my one.
So the card drawing can definitely impede or help some players much more than others. Would you agree? Now, I'm not saying that it doesn't force you into different directions on that path. I'm just saying that, like, my first draw in our most recent game, I had what I felt were just crap cards. Like, they didn't work with my special ability for my faction, and I was like, these really are not this. Whereas you were like, oh, I'm not going to attack any card. Oh my god, look at the, whoa, okay, I'm going to whoop, whoop, whoop. All this works perfectly with what my ability is. And I felt like I was kind of behind the eight ball from the get-go just because of a crappy draw. Now, with that said, there is the official variant in the rules that says, okay, instead of drawing 2 and keeping them, draw 3 and discard 1. Mm-hmm. So that would alleviate it some. Or maybe there's some other house rule that you could come up with for a draft that's going to add time to the game, but maybe it reduces some of that randomness. But I don't know. What are your thoughts?
We didn't play with the draft, but both you and I love a good draft.
Sure. And I think it improves a game because it removes that some element of the randomness.
And you know how I am about cards and random in my serious gameplay.
Right.
And I think this is a game for serious gameplay.
Right.
But here's the thing. Like, you know what? It doesn't drive me crazy in this game. It doesn't really bother me because...
Which strikes me as odd.
I know, but here... I think this might be why. I'm getting 30 cards. It's not like in Agricola, like if you didn't draft and you dealt me 7 or something like that. Or Legrand, I had to just take the top one off the... it's not like that. I'm getting 30 of them, and it's the primary mechanism, and I can do all these... You know what? I can build that temple probably next turn. I'll tuck this one. Now, I just find that I'm able to make spaghetti and jelly. If that's what I'm dealt, I'll make spaghetti and jelly.
Okay, let me play counterpoint to that, though, and maybe not even counterpoint, but just raise a question on this. So you're getting these 30 actions, right? Because you're getting, it's 5 rounds, 6 cards. 5 rounds. But what if the cards that you most wanted to be able to tuck don't come until rounds 4 or 5? So then is the onus on the player to, okay, if this plan that I had, I'm getting crap cards for that plan, time to scrap the plan and go a different direction? Whereas on that same token, what if you had your plan and you're like, oh, look at these cards. These fit perfectly with it. Boop, 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 boop.
Yeah, I guess, 5 plays, I haven't seen crap hand.
Okay.
Maybe I like spaghetti and jelly, I guess. That sounds gross, but my plan's always the same. I'm going to build walls, I'm going to install governors, I'm going to build palaces, and I'm going to do them in the places that the task asks me to do so for maximum scoring. So, how do these cards get me there best? And I haven't seen crap.
Lemons to lemonade, you're saying.
I guess.
All right.
Yeah.
I think I will differ on that a little bit, but I get what you're saying, but I also think that, and it's possible that over the course of these 30 cards, it all evens out. I mean, we haven't done statistical analysis to figure out, that, obviously. But my point is, it's possible maybe that if I get cards that don't really correspond with getting me the workers in the right zones or in the right districts to be able to write
bonuses.
Right, to be able to get the palaces in the right zones, whereas you get them, I feel like that's a definite advantage and that's my whole point.
But
I'm not saying it's game breaking.
Even if you don't get the bonuses, the tucking of the cards is valuable for the collection of the unification points or unification tokens, and a lot of the wall scoring tiles deal with what color, number, and type of cards you have tucked, and how So, again,
so that's my point. If
I don't get a bonus, cool. I'm going to go after that wall tile because that says every brown card I tuck.
And that's what I'm saying. You're changing on the fly. You're like,
that's
okay,
cool.
Instead of getting stubborn with your plan, you're like, okay,
I'm not changing on the fly. I'm still building governors. Temples,
sure, but you're
walls.
doing them in different locations than where you necessarily planned.
No, I'm doing them where the tasks tell me to build them.
But they don't tell...
But I'm not...
But sometimes they don't
hung
correlate.
up on, I must get bonuses for every action.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying... My point is if you have some of the tasks that say you need to build palaces in, say, 1, 2, 4, and 5... Right, and maybe 4 and 5 are the same between the top tasks set and the bottom. Right,
there could be some synergy.
There's good synergy there. Whereas at the beginning of the game, you get cards that get you bonuses that you tuck in. That's going to help you get those palaces built in zones, say 4 and 5, since those are the most important because there's that synergy between the two of them. Right. Whereas I get cards that don't help me at all in those in those regions, be able to help build palaces.
The cards don't help you build palaces. Now, some bonuses will give you some free workers.
Right, and that's what I'm saying.
Occasions,
right.
And you'll get bonuses for taking the palace building action.
Right, and that's my point.
So if you have cards that are giving you palace building actions, bonuses, start building palaces. Build governors later.
Or vice versa. And so you're saying the same location, just the timing might be different in which you do
I still need to do
those.
all of these things.
Right.
But you know what? This hand says, start here.
Okay. Then with that, we're in agreement. Okay. So maybe it's not really in an imbalance. It's more an adjustment of the order in which you need to do things based on what you get dealt. I guess that's what all this is trying to get to.
Spaghetti and jelly, baby.
There you go.
So let's begin the wrap-up process of ZhanGuo. What's your summary of the game?
With a relatively low rules overhead, ZhanGuo finds a way to give players a fun and challenging game with an immense amount of decisions in a reasonable playing time. In my opinion, that's solid praise for yet another really good game from What's Your Game.
To me, ZhanGuo is a really good game that I totally enjoy playing. And I love it when a plan comes together and I do look at my hand and go, I know exactly what I'm going to do with these 4 cards. And I love it when somebody does it to me or I do it to somebody and somebody is saying, you jerk, why'd you play 112? I don't have anything higher and I need to play higher for these bonuses. So I think that's some fun stuff. ZhanGuo is a solid game.
Agreed.
So let's rock into a little rating. We have a new rating system, 1 through 6.
And here you go. Starting worst to first. A 1, just burn it. Light it on fire. Don't even sell it, because damn you for pawning that off on someone else. Or
It's not me,
like to say,
it's you,
Yeah,
man.
it's not me, it's you. Whereas a 2 is the opposite. Maybe it's a game that just doesn't connect with you,
Right.
but
We just don't like it for
But
some
we
reason.
just don't like it. So it's not you, it's me. 3 is meh. It's all right.
Yeah, below average.
Right, yeah. It's there's some good stuff there, but overall, not a fan of the game. A 4 is we feel the game's above average mechanically or in game. There's some really good stuff going on,
Yes.
and this is where we begin to think, do I want to own a copy?
Yes.
A 5 is terrific. Dare I say, a great game. Strongly like the game, and more than likely, we're going to own it.
Yes.
And finally, a 6, that's Hall of Fame. That's just...
No brainer, man.
Yeah,
Buy it.
yeah, just go out and go get it.
So, shall you or shall I give the numbers first?
I feel like since you drove the review, I feel like you should get the last word. Even though I gotta say, this one was really, really hard for me. Maybe the second hardest game I've had to rate. It's somewhere between a 4 and a 5 for me.
Yeah.
And
I'll say same for me.
okay, and in my opinion, if it's between a 4 and a 5, you know what it's not? It's not a 5. Because if it's not quite a 5, it's not a 5. So therefore, it's got to be a 4. And here's my hesitation. And this is strictly for me, okay? This isn't a rating on whether or not people should go out and buy it or not. My point is, Amanda isn't really too keen on the game. It wouldn't get a lot of play 2-player. I do want to play it 2-player, and I'm interested in the game. However, there's the randomness in the cards, and there's just something about it. Maybe it's that sameness that we've been conditioned to expect different, I guess, that is keeping me from keeping it from being a great game. It's a really good game.
It's a really good
and it's a game that if Amanda comes around, she's willing to give it a try 2-player. If she comes around on it, then I will go out and buy a copy. But as of right now, I'm kind of on the fence as far as whether or not I want to go out and buy a copy.
Okay.
So that's a 4 from me. So how about you? I'm really curious.
Yeah, like you, I bounced between a 4 and a 5 during the process of thinking about the rating of the game. And in the end, I settled for a 4. It is a fantastic game. And I love the theme, what there is of it. I like the period of time in which the game is purported to take place.
Okay, that's fair. Yes, I will grant you that.
But, I mean, I don't think it's like a really super fantastic, oh my god, no-brainer. It's an awesome game, a terrific game. I really like the game. I own the game. I'm pleased I own the game. I would buy it if I did not own it.
Okay. However, there's something. So what's keeping you from rating it a 5? Like where's the hang up then? If it's a 4 for you and you're saying it's this excellent game, where's the hang up? There's got to be a hang up.
Yeah, and I think that the hang up is going to be bizarre to hear, but it's that the theme isn't all this super Chinese theme.
So is it because it's a disappointment because you were looking forward to it? Or is it because, let's be honest, it's a pasted on theme? And
It's pasted on theme.
Yeah.
And so we say theme doesn't matter, but I think theme does matter occasionally, and that's when you see something you're like, oh man, I'm really turned on by the theme of a game in particular, right? Like, oh god, yeah, I'd really like to play a game about XYZ.
Right.
And then you get that game and you're like, all right. It's not really about XYZ.
So
and so I think maybe that's colored me a tad.
okay, and that's fair. I think our listeners would appreciate hearing that, because from a couple of guys who say theme, whatever, to where maybe it does way more if the theme matters to you. Yeah, that's
Weird.
pretty insight. No, I don't think weird at all. I think it's a valid thing. I mean, you say it's an excellent game, excellent gameplay. You don't even mind the randomness, which is crazy.
I know.
Yet, the thing keeping it from being rated higher is the theme is almost like a facade.
A tease. Yes.
A tease. Okay, cool.
And that's ZhanGuo.
Thanks a lot to What's Your Game for the review copy. So everybody does top 10 lists, right? I mean...
Too many people.
Right.
Including us.
Right. So a lot of people do end of the year stuff and all that. And granted, we're a little bit late on that, but whatever.
Yeah.
So we thought, or I guess I thought, it'd be fun that instead of doing a standard top 10 of 2014, let's do something a little bit different. So here's what we're going to present to you guys. We're going to do top 10 new to us in 2014 that we did not do a featured review for. Now, that doesn't mean that the game was published in 2014.
Correct.
That means it could have been anywhere from the beginning of time through 2014.
Right. If this is the first year in which we played Go,
right,
it would qualify.
Right. So, just to let you guys know the games that are exempt from this list, because if we did not exempt the games that we featured on our podcast in 2014, then it's going to be a list consisting of the majority of these games.
The majority, good call.
Right, because there are some on our other list, our new to us list that would also be in there. But as a general rule, a lot of these would be. These are...
Recap.
Arkwright, Brass, Craftsman, Democker, Kanban, La Granja, I know you're torn up about that one, La Havre, Madeira, Master of Economy, Panamax, Three Kingdoms Redux, and Vinos. None of those qualify for this list. So again, top 10 new to us in 2014 that we did not do a feature review on.
With one exception, that's a hell of a lineup.
That's pretty strong.
Yeah, it really is.
And yes, I know some people are going to be like, oh, your podcast came out on January 1st for Arkwright. Yeah, whatever. Leave us alone. Close enough to 2014. How's that? It's one day.
So we're going to start with our number 10.
And to preface, we do not know each other's lists.
No.
So if there's overlap, then there's overlap, and that's that. All right? So starting with number 10. Sir, you're number 10.
Star Realms.
2014
game by White Wizard Games. I think that this is the Dominion clone that Dominion should envy. It's fast, it's fun, it's a fantastic deck builder. And the iPad app, just out of this world, literally. If you have not played this, you like deck builders, get that Dominion box, put it in the trash, and get started on some Star Realms.
I hate Dominion.
I hate Dominion.
I enjoy Star Realms.
I love Star Realms.
I am looking forward to expansions coming onto online to the iOS.
To the app, yeah.
Because, man, I've played that thing like 120 times. So, yeah, it is not on my list, but it's definitely a game that I enjoyed playing and did play for the first time in 2014.
Go for your number 10, sir.
Probably a surprise to you.
Okay.
Because it's a game you and Amanda really did not enjoy.
Uh-oh.
And that's Reef Encounter by Richard Breeze.
Yeah.
So I had heard a lot of good things about this game, and it's very much abstracted. I love the artwork in it. I love apparently I'm bigger into abstracts than I thought, but the game just spoke to me. I really enjoyed it, and I'm really, really pissed that you and Amanda, neither of you enjoy it, because that means I'm almost never going to get this damn game played. So, yeah, that's my number 10. Yeah, with the googly eyes. Right.
Yeah, man.
So I take it it's not on your list.
It is not.
Okay.
It was right after La Granja. No. All right, so go for your number 9. Let's trade off here.
All right, so my number 9 is Polis, Fight for the Hegemony.
Oh, nice. You know what? That's not on my list, and probably erroneously so.
Shame on you.
Yeah.
So the only reason, to be honest with you, this is not higher on my list is because I only have a single play of it. Otherwise, I think it would be fighting for one of the top spots, if not the top spot. It is some people's quintessential two-player game. It's kind of a Waro. It's economy building set back in ancient Greece. It's
Sparta and Athens.
Right. And just really, really fun game that...
And hard.
Yeah, really hard. And shamefully, only one play. But I promise you, listeners, that we will play it more this year, and I really hope to get it reviewed this year.
Awesome. I will definitely back that up.
All right, so it's Polis Fight for the Hegemony. Your number 9.
My number 9 is a 2009 game that I first played in 2014, and that is Endeavor.
I own it, still haven't played it yet. Okay.
Also fast and fun, but sort of brutal area control game. It can really get, chop on each other. And there's a little tad bit of engine building. Doesn't take long to play. It's really, really pretty cool game, but only with 4 or 5.
I was going to say, you strongly feel like it's a 5-player game that it's okay with 4, but it's more of a 5-player game.
3 sucks. That was Endeavor, my number 9. Now my number 8 is a 2013 game.
Okay. See, you have dates. I don't have dates on mine, so sorry, guys.
Rococo.
The reason Rococo is not on my list is I played it in 2013. So
Did you?
So I could not.
Okay. I did not.
It was 3 days before. It was December 28th. Because when I was making my list, I was like, "Where's Rococo?" Oh, I first played it on the 28th of December in 2013. But I would agree with you otherwise.
Terrific little game with some really cool mechanics, some hand management and drafting and stuff like that,
and deck building a little
right.
bit.
Right. Well, that's what I mean. And it's got a decent challenge to it. And here's an important thing: my entire family wants to play that game, so it's very easy to get on the table at my house. And Michael Menzel's artwork.
I got 3 other things to say about that.
All
One,
right.
it's the only Matthias Kramer. I realize he's only half the design team, but it's the only Matthias Kramer game that I've played that I enjoy. Haven't played Lancaster yet. I really think the little mini promo really adds to the game.
Fancy dress.
The fancy dress promo. And third, this is a game that I dig the theme. Not that I, secretly want to be a tailor or dressmaker.
Don't you have a tailor side business?
Not so much.
Okay.
But I like a unique theme. And that definitely fits here because the only other dressmaking game that I can think of is Pret-a-Porter.
Right. And that's Rococo. What's your number 8?
Well, kind of going on that whole unique theme type thing, one of my favorite Spielworks games that I played this year, and that is Colonialism.
Whoa! Now, that is on my list, number 5, so let's talk about it together.
All right. Well, first off, the reason I have it at 8 and not higher is I really prefer this game only at 4 players. It's not bad at 3, but I really think the game is better at 4 players. This was the first game that I heard people buying because of our show, which I think is cool. But yeah, this was one of the highlights of the year for me.
Yeah, I think it's a wonderful area control game. It's got some hand management, and I think that the whole exploiting the natives for the resources, I think it's very cleverly done. Actually, a nice little majority within the different regions, and the scoring mechanic being quite low is very refreshing.
Yeah, like the winning score can be like 7 or 8.
When I play, and by the way, Matt and I have played 2-player, and it was okay.
Okay,
we didn't mind it like you.
Okay, so but when
I play it, I feel like a despotic king or emperor.
So, really?
Yeah,
that's cool.
I don't get hung up on it though.
So that's my number 8 and your number 5, Colonialism.
What is your number 7?
My entry into block war games, and that's Hammer of the Scots.
Nice.
Now, I had always loved the idea of block war games because it's low piece count. It's a simplified step loss for casualties in a block war game, and you can have huge strategic and huge operational level fights without stacks and stacks of chits. So even before I played them, I probably owned 15, maybe 10 block war games on the assumption that I'm going to like them. But Hammer of the Scots, it's Braveheart. There's William Wallace in it. And playing it, and I absolutely fell in love with it. It's a really cool, simple card play, and just really, God, I hate saying the word, but it's elegant. And I really, really enjoyed it. And so that's my number 7, Hammer of the Scots. Your number 7, sir.
My number 7, I suspect, will be on your list. I'm going to go all the way back to 2007.
Okay.
Neue Heimat.
Yes, sir. And man, my top 5 was a struggle. This somehow made it only to number 5 for me this year.
It is brutal auctions. that can cause your soul, or hopefully your opponent's soul, to just be sucked out and stomped on in a fun way.
I can only play this game with certain people.
It's not friendly.
Let me put it to you this way. Today, someone, the board game group, it's a group on Facebook, right? And they were like, hey, what are some underrated games that you think should get more love? And this is the game I mentioned. And one of the responses was, A, it's really hard to get a hold of, which is true because you do have to import it.
Hey, Clanker, I'm still waiting.
However, he said the reason a lot of people don't like it is it's too mean. It's too brutal.
Yeah, man.
It's so innocent looking. You're
It's
just
so
building
awesome.
some houses. That's,
Do.
yeah, and just...
Oh, did I screw you on that? I'm
It's
sorry,
a closed economy auction game that is just, it's quick, like half an hour, and just painfully wonderful.
And that's Neue Heimat. So let's roll into my number 6 then.
Yes, sir.
2009's Martin Wallace classic, in my opinion, Steam.
I still haven't played Steam.
You played it with the stock market variant, which sucks.
Yeah, so I don't consider that a play of the game.
It's a fun game. It's a connection game. You know, you can get your connections in certain ways that you can edge out other people or snipe some goods before they get to it, and that's always fun. And it has Wallace's trademark. Your company is fighting hard to be profitable. And money's tight. Financing is costly. Cool stuff. And weirdly enough, my wife likes Steam. She likes a lot of heavier games.
Yeah, I don't know why you're selling her short.
But likes a lot of weird stuff too. But anyway.
She seemed interested in Dominant Species.
No, she's just humoring you.
Okay, you say so. Anyway, that was your number 6.
Steam. What's your number 6?
My number 6 is my favorite Matt Gertz game that I absolutely fell in love with the first time I played it. Navigador.
Yeah, man, that's a good one.
The variable market and the explore, kind of the linear track as far as the exploring of the new lands and everything and the different resources, but that variable market can be really a lot of people's entry into a variable stock market almost. I mean, you don't really have stock in it per se.
Just variable economy.
Yeah. And more games need a variable economy, and
all games.
And I just really fell in love with it. It's got the rondelle that Matt Gertz is known for. I think he's patented. But yeah, just a huge fan of that. And that's Navigador. So both of our number 5s, just to recap, my number 5 was...
Yours was Neue Heimat.
Right.
Mine was Colonialism.
Correct.
So let's roll into 4. What's your number 4 game?
All right, my number 4 is an all-time classic that I hear a lot of mixed things on nowadays, but in my opinion is still as good and still is a viable game even... 10, 15 years later?
I know what you're talking here.
And that's Puerto Rico.
Yeah, man.
So,
I can't have that on my list because I played it 10, 15 years ago.
Right, and I played it for the first time this year. And both Amanda and I just absolutely adore this game. I must have a little disclaimer. It helps when the only version of the game you've played is the limited edition that we have. So
it's a nice edition.
Yeah, it's tricked out. It's nice. It's super cool. But just we had played San Juan when we first got into the hobby back in 2012, and then for some reason we didn't play Puerto Rico. We just never got it to the table, and we finally got it on a game night back, early. This is January 2014,
right?
And we were like, oh. Just the roll selection, it's so delicious. Now, I understand that some people will gripe and say, oh, if you want to win, just sit to the left of the newbie, and that's that. I'll put it to you this way. There are very few people in our group that are that are skilled enough and play it often enough to where...
Anymore.
Right. That it's going to be an issue, so it's still enjoyable to us, at least. And that's the classic Puerto Rico. So what's your number 4, sir?
My number 4 is a Kiesling und Kramer classic. That's with a K. Palaces of Carrara with a C.
Which, actually, Missed my list. I did play it for the first time in 2014, but did not make my top 10.
I think the market wheel is a very smart mechanic, but I really just love that I'm in control of when I score and when I take income. You know, I've mentioned that before. It's just, hey, if I'm stinking it up, that's my problem. If I'm kicking butt, I did that. You know?
I timed it well.
Right.
I did right. No, I really enjoyed the game, but to be honest with you, the amount of games that were new to me in 2014 that were just awesome is why it didn't make the list. But enjoyable game, and in fact, I have a copy of the German version en route from Game Surplus as we speak.
That is correct.
So, what is your number 3?
My number 3 is Caverna.
Didn't even make my top 20.
Man, no, you're missing it. You're missing it.
No, it wasn't a bad game.
Yeah.
I just think there were far better. Because if I want to get the same taste, I'm going to play Agricola, which is meaner.
It's a different flavor.
You think so?
Oh yeah. And I agree. Agricola is meaner, tougher.
Right.
And but Caverna is similar in many respects, and just plain fun, and it has some cool mechanics and like stacking of tiles and the adventures and stuff like that, the expeditions they call them, that Agricola doesn't have. It's purely a fun, lighter-hearted Agricola for me. And when Matt and I get down to it, we're some intense 2-player games, and we knock it out in like an hour, and bang, done. And like our last game was, what I sent you the scores, it was like 106 to 106. We like literally tied or something like that. You know, so we always play tight and fun.
It's not a bad game. Let me preface that, okay? I just there are other games that I would rather play than Caverna. Yeah. It's that simple. That's what fine. It comes down to.
Cool.
So that's your number
3. Yours. Your number 3.
The top 3 was just, like I said, the top 5, how to score, you know, to put them in order was really tough. And number 3 ended up being 1846.
Okay.
I have to say that it's arguably my favorite 18XX that I've played so far. It's, I think, also arguably the best entry-level 18XX game out there. I know there's Steam Over Holland and smaller games like 18AL and 18 Georgia and stuff, but the thing I like about 1846 specifically, and we are going to review it in the upcoming months, the thing I like about it specifically is the fact that somebody who is a gamer already but is playing in 18XX for the first time may not necessarily have a good chance against an experienced player, but there's enough fun for both sides. Like an experienced player, like I would rather claw my eyes out than play Steam Over Holland again. Okay, I've played it 4 or 5 times with beginners, and yeah, that's fine. 1846, I could honestly play probably 100 times and still be okay with playing with new players over and over again. And just can't say enough about it. There are some things about it that I would prefer were different, but those were some of the concessions made to make it more 18XX newbie friendly.
Sure. And
I'm totally okay with that. So that's my number 3, 1846. So we'll roll into my number 2. Any guesses? It's an Essen release from 2013.
No.
Okay. And that's Wildcatters.
Okay.
It looks like a heavy economic game. It's more a bunch of area majority games. It's a beautiful game to look at. It's gorgeous on the table. The artwork, that muted color kind of Spielworks kind of type thing. It has the 3D trains. It has the
derricks,
the oil derrick, the 3D oil derricks. It's got the oil barrels, all that. But on top of that, it's just a really, really cutthroat area majority economic, kind of merging that I wish got to the table more, because it's beautiful to look at and it's damn fun to play. Really, really enjoy it.
My number 2 is 2010's Gettysburg from Martin Wallace,
which I need to play. You talk this thing up, and rightfully so if it's your number 2.
Yeah, I'm I'm a minis wargamer from way back, and
Especially
even before that, Counter and Hex wargames, right?
Especially you're a big Civil War guy.
I'm a Civil War nutcase.
Right.
And so Gettysburg is this very cool middle ground where it's a board game and it's a war game, and it doesn't take itself too seriously. I feel there's a problem with war games that many of them want to be a simulation, and that's just, you cannot simulate war. I'm sorry. You cannot. So, but you can set up certain conditions and try to model things and apply random factors and various things like that.
Well, because in real life, those things are going to happen.
Yeah, but, nothing's a simulation. So, anyway, and Martin himself says, this is not a simulation or a history lesson, so... but the command system in the game, I think, coupled with the time tracking system, is just brilliance. And really fun game. Subject matter I love. A battle I love. I've been to the Gettysburg battlefield a dozen times.
Really? That's cool.
Yeah.
I would dig. I would like to see that.
I know every inch. I walked Pickett's Charge in my wool uniform and all kinds of stuff. So
Really?
yeah, man, I did.
That's awesome. I
and my
did
brother.
not know that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I bet you that was hot as hell.
Yeah, we did it in July. So
Oh my God.
it was brutal. Brutal. The wife had water in the car when she picked us up.
I hope so.
Yeah.
All right. So how do you want to do our number ones? Because so far there's been one overlap. One.
Yeah, on number 5.
Wow.
Here, I'll go.
Okay, go for it. Your number one game of 2014, new to you, not necessarily published in 2014, and not reviewed, is...
Fire in the Lake.
Ooh. Sadly, I've yet to play it.
It is an excellent coin game for 2 to 4 players. I think it's the leader of the coin games. Not that I've played them all, but it's certainly the one coin game theme that I really am into, the Vietnam War.
It's the one I was most looking forward to,
Yeah.
and sadly have not played.
I do feel like a leader and a general all in one, because I'm making some battlefield decisions, but at the right level, more strategic than tactical, and I'm making governmental decisions by where things are going, and yeah, it's an awesome game. And that's Fire in the Lake, my number one.
Excellent pick. I mean, there's a reason I was jonesing to get it, and just cutting out time.
I have 2 copies, so one new in-shrink copy will be available in the heavy cardboard auction.
Oh, rock on. There you go.
What's your number one, sir?
Hopefully it equals. And to be honest with you, it surprised me, this. When I was going through all
Splendor?
No, Notre Dame.
Not at all. Notre Dame.
No, all right, seriously.
All right.
My number one, like I say, it was a surprise to me. When I was going through all the games that I'd played for the first time in 2014, and I eliminated everything that we reviewed, I was like, okay, yeah, that can make the list. And this was a no-brainer to me, but I didn't expect it to be number one. And that's The Great Zimbabwe by Splatter.
Okay, all right.
Well,
All right, that's a solid pick.
it's a logistics game at its heart, and in the game you represent an African tribe, a monotheist African tribe, that the goal of the game is to build temples to your god, whoever you choose. Well, the things I like about it, and there's plenty. First off, the turn order auction is unique and awesome. The other thing that I really love about this is everybody starts the goal of the game to get 20 points. First one to 20 points. Yeah. But every god and every craftsman that you take ups that number. So maybe you, Tony, only have to get 24 points to win the game, but I've taken a lot of craftsmen and I got a lot of cool special abilities and all this stuff, and now maybe I have to score 34 points. And that kind of moving destination, that moving victory condition or victory point condition for is just, there's just no downside to this game. And for a Splatter, it plays surprisingly quick. 90 minutes for a 4-player game. It's just, there's just literally nothing about this game that I do not enjoy.
Yeah, my two favorite things about it are the turn order auction and the variable victory point thing. The more help you get in playing the game, the more points you need to earn to win the game.
Yeah, just a whole lot of win. And it's one of Splatter's more accessible as far as both in cost and rules overhead. It's, I want to say, for the longest time, it was $80-$90. I'm not sure what it is now, but for a Splatter, that's pretty reasonable. And that's my number one, new to me, 2014, The Great Zimbabwe. So one last thing before we get out of here that we both were pretty excited about, and a cool milestone for the show. We hit 1,000 followers on Twitter, so thank you, everybody. That's pretty cool. I realize for some that's not a big number, but for us, it was. And to celebrate, we went out and had pho. We treated ourselves to a highly expensive $7 bowl of delicious pho.
It was great. I love pho.
Yep.
I give it a 6 on the scale of 1 to 6.
I would as well. But no, thanks to everybody for growing our little show. So thanks a lot.
Thanks.
So on that note, how to get a hold of us real quick. On Twitter, which we are highly active on, at Heavy Cardboard. Facebook, getting more active on Heavy Cardboard. Email us, please, heavycardboard@gmail.com. And lastly, hit us up on our website, heavycardboard.com.
Well, before we go, one last thank you to Velma and Company at Game Surplus, www.gamesurplus.com. Check them out.
Yeah, so that's a wrap. It's a long show, but it's been a lot of cool content, I think, at least.
Yeah.
And hope you guys enjoyed it. Give us feedback. We want to hear it. And we'll catch you guys in a couple of weeks.
Sounds good.
All right.
Good
Catch you
night,
all
sir.
later. Good night.